CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success.
It's really easy to be like, oh yeah, you know what, 6 months from now, I can crush that. Yeah, I can take that on later. 6 weeks from now, whatever that may be. Harsh reality, typically one of those, wherever you go, there you are. So then you get to that 6 months, you're the same person that you were then, and now you're just even more behind, you have more load to try and capture. And so the last piece of this, kind of why we're still kind of in this morass, is there's also just a lot of lack of discipline in this space, a lack of structure. And I say that with a boatload of empathy with shop floor professionals. It is the most volatile trade that there is, just because of the unpredictability in a lot of manufacturing environments. Good luck as vendors trying to schedule a meeting with a maintenance manager or a reliability manager a week from now. Because a lot of times we don't know what 10 minutes from now looks like, or an hour from now. So it's really hard to kind of get things up and moving here. So again, I don't need to rehash the intro. I've been in the IoT space for over 10 years, been on the leading edge, saw a lot of frustration along the way. I was once Nordiest host of an IoT and reliability video series way back in the day, and I hate IoT pilots. And yet, that is exactly what this topic is about, because we just want to make them better. I hate them because they're terrible. We have to make them better at this point. But we are seeing progress, because they're actually getting done. There's really not going anywhere. And so this led me to a point of frustration last year. I actually came and did a 3-hour workshop on this nauseating topic with you guys here in Schaumburg last year. Ed was sitting in that audience, and he was a big help as well. But the cross eyes that I got when I showed up to a reliability conference with big easels and pastel-colored Post-it notes and Sharpies was a little harsh out of the gate, but everyone ultimately jumped in. We actually collected over 300 Post-it notes across that session. And that was, there was probably about 40, 45 people that were in that session, and we were really just talking about, honestly, we workshopped the shit out of these IoT pilots. Why aren't they working? Why are they working? And what we found is we kind of went piece by piece through each element of an IoT pilot. I ultimately found that there was a wide spectrum of experiences of people in that audience. And it still felt that external factors were the largest indicator of success or failure. There were groups in there that's like, man, we're crushing it. But it's because, like, top down, the whole team gets it, corporate gets it, and all that. And then you got other people that's like, I'm a one-person island. I can't get anything moving. I keep getting stuck. And so, so again, after collecting all of this and poring over the hundreds of these Post-it notes that we got, to me, I think the biggest takeaway was this idea of a structured environment versus kind of the Wild West. And so all of that kind of taken away, again from that experience, it led me to want to build this, and it's called a Better Pilot Roadmap. And again, I hope it doesn't look daunting. I try to keep it simple. But this journey needs structure, it needs pointed feedback, and all of that. We have to have a place to collect our thoughts, plans, and actions. Every success story we've heard on pilots usually roots with some type of starter block that gets people organized and rallied around a topic, in this case, an IoT pilot. Because I will tell you this, time is your most precious resource. We have all felt that burden when we are out of time to do what we've been asked to do. And so I encourage you, as we walk through how to do this, make the time to do this if you want a successful IoT pilot, or frankly, you'll waste it, because all the time you think, man, I don't have time to do anything like this. I guarantee you by the time you start this half a dozen times, all that time you could have spent doing this in the first place, you just net zeroed out all the time you wasted trying to just wing it or anything like that. Because I'll tell you this, I don't know if you know this or not, but 72% of innovation comes when we do mundane tasks. Our brain, why we get a lot of shower thoughts. Everyone ever have a whiteboard in the shower or anything like that? I wonder why. You take a walk, you're on your drive. You ever take that 20-minute drive to work and you're like, man, I have no idea how I got here, but I just landed here. I wasn't even mentally present. And that's why, again, 72% of innovative ideas come during mundane tasks. And so my hope for you is that I want to create more time in your day to go take that extra walk, to go for that lunch or whatever, because that's usually when we actually think about how to solve our problems. Because when we're in the fire of our day-to-day, we'll never be in that mindset to actually think about doing our jobs as a way to like add value where we're at right now. Another key piece that's working against us, as I was telling my team earlier this week, a pretty terrible statistic as of 2022, humans now fall below goldfish on attention span. We have less than a 3-second attention span. Goldfish are better than us at retaining attention than we are at this point. And I wonder why. So Nielsen, if you're familiar with Nielsen, they do all the TV stats and everything like that. Trust me, this is not a made-up number. According to Nielsen, Americans consumed 21 million years of content last year. Just Americans, 21 million years worth of content in 1 year alone. No wonder we don't have the attention span that we need to kind of set the time aside to do this. That's why I want to make this stuff easy for us in here. We don't have to, I want us to be overthinking about it. So let's dive in and talk about this a little bit more. In my opinion, you have to start by clearly defining the problem that is in front of you. And when I say the problem, fortunately, I'm going to ask us to kind of zoom out a little bit and think about the clear business problem that we're actually trying to solve here. Not just X machine isn't working, or X asset isn't working and it needs to work better, or X asset continues to fail prematurely. We have to figure that out. We have to figure out how to contextualize that in the greater business if we want more momentum. So a piece of advice, don't fall in the downtime trap. Good grief, we've been at trade shows for over 20 years now, and the word downtime, it doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. We know what it is. You know where it doesn't show up? On a P&L. You could save all the downtime in the world, and that CFO who's going to do your accounting at the end of the year, whatever, you know where that downtime doesn't show up? On that report. Great. Also, I'm going to cut your maintenance budget next year. Thanks for saving me that project. So, for your own sanity, don't use downtime because it doesn't actually help you at the end of the day. Probably get you a pat on the back, but as far as like actually driving value, it doesn't really go in there. It's a ghost at that point. And so you have to think through the lens of, if I need more investment, I need to do more. So what more am I unlocking in my operation of which I'm trying to gain investment in order to do? And the context of that is key. And so again, think about it through outcomes. Start at the end. If I want my business to go here, what needs to happen that I can walk back through today? And to kind of eliminate your BS factor, I always like to use the 5 whys. So it usually happens really good in a conversation when someone says, hey, I think we should do this. Why? I'm going to give you a response. Why? I'm going to give you a response. If you have small children like I do, it's kind of a fun technique there too, but it's kind of very similar. Why? If you ask someone why 5 times, you will ultimately drive them to the root of what they're trying to achieve. You may be as annoying as shit while you're doing that, but it's effective and it works.
So there you have it, a brief clip from Jeremy Drury's presentation at Reliable Plant Conference 2025. Connect with them at UpTimeCM.com.
Got some video games, California Speed. Beautiful 57 Chevy here. We're at Reliable Plant. I was just hanging out with Bryan Bieschke. He's with UpKeep. I'm also an UpKeep ambassador. And we're getting ready to kick off this conference. We're going to be doing some floor walks. We're going to be doing some podcasting over at the Gear Talk booth. We'll check in with you later. CMMS Radio signing off.
Thanks, Greg. Happy to be here at Reliable Plant. We have a thermoplastic polymer product that we encapsulate rotating equipment with, among other things, and we are allowing the rotating system still to operate freely under the coating, but keeping contamination away from the primary seals. So we're able to extend bearing life exponentially, in some cases 500% up to 2,000% is what we see, because the contamination can no longer reach the primary seals. Also lower the lubrication requirements, because now your bearing is operating in a clean, dry environment instead of a nasty, wet, dirty, dusty environment like so many of these people experience.
Yeah, and I want to tell you, we were walking by this morning. I was with my buddy Bryan Bieschke. He works at UpKeep, and right away he talked about how important that is and how many people sleep on this technology. Do you see the same, that people are still trying to learn and get educated about it?
Yeah, our primary hurdle in the market is education. People just don't realize the technology exists, and then most people want a proof of concept. How does it work in our environment? What specifically will we see? And almost without fail, we see pretty tremendous savings with our customers.
All right, well, I want to thank you for this soundbite. I hope you have a great, reliable plant, and I'll be back again later today, maybe tomorrow, but thanks for being on CMMS Radio.
Thanks, Greg. Happy to be a part.
You got it.
Spence.
I want to hear from Bryan, but I want to throw something in there. All right, go.
So, Alex mentioned you can't solve your reliability journey, and that is a fact. You cannot maintain your way to reliability. The way to solve your reliability journey is through design. You're designing out failure modes. That's how you solve your reliability journey. The uncomfortable thing to say is, no one does that, right? You find a supplier that meets a general specification of a machine that we want. We go, thanks, thank you for that. We're gonna bolt it to the ground, we're gonna put it to work, right? On top of that, I think a common thing that is missing in implementations that I've done, consulting that I've done, is language, right? Right? We have to create a common language that our maintenance department speaks. That language should be in alignment with the way that the business speaks. Now, we're not going to use the same terms all the time, right? But in my opinion, it is difficult to sustain the adoption and further progress with your CMMS if I'm speaking a different language than you.
Vastly more expensive than the route-based analysis was. That is the fact. It's probably not a popular statement with the vendors, but it is. It's wildly more expensive. Is it a great technology? Nominally great technology where it's needed. But if you're going to spend that money for that, you need to know what you're going to have for support. Will that person come on site if we're running into issues, or do I now have to go out and hire a third party to come in and verify what they're saying at another $300 an hour to come in on a weekend or in the middle of the night, right? So, like I said, might not be the most popular answer with certain circles, but what is the relationship that you have? What kind of support do I have? What kind of, the analyst, what kind of background does the analyst have with this, either the industry or of doing this type of analysis?
Last technology cap on that. So invariably when I'm at a conference like this and I'm wandering the floor and I'm talking to vendors and getting updates, and it's usually the vendors, strangely enough, but sometimes it's an engagement. The vendor will say, Ed, which one's the best? Which competitor should I be worried about? And I'm like, how do I know? And the analogy I finally hit on, the analogy I used to use was, you know, that's just like asking me, hey, Ed, I'm bringing my best client into Boston. What restaurant should we go to eat at? And I'm like, well, what does he like to eat? You know, what's your budget? Am I invited? Let's have some conversation first to Matthew's points. But the analogy I hit on recently, let me test this one out on you guys. I posted on LinkedIn a few months ago, and I brought it up yesterday. The articles John and I are writing for Reliable Plant Magazine, we'll talk about this some more. The analogy that I hit on now is my youngest daughter just graduated college last Saturday, right? She's going to get a job one of these days, and you dads, and I'm sorry, don't take this the wrong way, but she's going to come home with her sign-on bonus. She says, Dad, I got to buy a car. Which one should I buy? And now I'm working through what algorithm am I going to use for this? Is it going to be quality? Reliability, economy, safety, that would be big with her mom, right? But I know in the end, and I'm sorry, please don't take offense, it's going to come down to, well, I really like the looks of this one. It's really good. I like it in red. And so how do I go through the technology of automotive manufacturing? But honey, this one's much more reliable. That will be, your cost of ownership will be much lower. I can see her eyes glazing over right now. But that's not a bad analogy to how kind of conversation you have to have before you go shopping for these things, because it's worse than even taking a truck. Now, as I say, you've opened it up to the whole automotive industry. You know, you just need a commuter vehicle.
Reliable Plant is happening June 15th through 18th, 2026 in Reno, Tahoe, Nevada. Make sure you're there for all the learning and networking.
All right, we're at Reliable Plant 2025. We're at the Luneta booth. There's Tom. If you don't know him, you should. And here's Doug Burney.
Doug Burney.
So Doug, I want to ask you a couple of questions. This is for CMMS Radio.
Sure.
First, I want you to tell us very briefly, what exactly does Luneta do and why does it matter?
Well, Luneta manufactures oil inspection and sampling equipment, and the reason that matters is when you get into a proactive mode of trying to keep machines from failing, and you want to do things like oil sampling and things like that, the equipment is, generally speaking, not already on a manufactured piece of equipment. So you have to buy aftermarket things, similar to our condition monitoring pod, where you can sample oil live while the machine's still running. Sample oil via this pilot tube here, which gives you consistency of sampling site. You're able to pull the same sample every time, giving you better lab results. Everybody knows when you're a mathematician, you get the variables out of there. You got to knock out the variables. Well, one of the biggest variables when we talk about oil sampling is sampling location. A lot of people dropping tubes down the fill port. You don't know if it's landing here, landing here, landing here. This one, if you're pulling the sample, the night shift guy's pulling the sample, the doofus that's on third shift is pulling the sample, he's pulling from the same place, so you get consistent results, so you can get better test results back from your lab, and just be able to make a world-class lubrication program.
All right, next question is, what have you so far today, I know this is first day of exhibit hall, seen as the more common kind of questions that people have asked you?
That is a very good question. A lot of questions about the impact resistance, because, you know, people say, well, I've got this 3D style sight glass sitting on the side of my machine. What if somebody comes in and rams into this, or somebody bumps into it, hits it with a cart? Well, this is actually made with a copolyester material called Triton. It's made by the Eastman Chemical Company. It was actually originally intended for food and beverage, so it's food safe. Also, we included a UV inhibitor in it to keep it from getting yellow or brittle in the sun. But what it really does is gives you an impact rating that you would not believe. And you can see our impact videos on our Luneta channel on YouTube. We've got Toyota Tacomas running over this thing. I've got a 10-pound sledgehammer dropping and slamming into the thing. You'd be shocked at how much impact this material can take. And everything clear that we offer, a pole, a column, the CM pod, our side glasses, all made of that same Triton material.
Nice. Well, I want to thank you for this brief clip on CMMS Radio, and I hope you're having a blast here at Reliable Plant 2025.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You got it, brother. We always got to check on our people here at Mobius. Yeah. There they are. We'll see you in Milwaukee.
Yeah, see you in Milwaukee. Don't spill your drink.
Here we are, Reliable Plant 2025. Look at that. That's the MotorDoc, Howard Penrose. Look at that, Bryan Bieschke trying to photobomb. Howard, how's the conference been for you so far?
It's actually been really good. Best conference we've been at this year.
Did you do a bit of a keynote yesterday?
Yes.
Like a mini keynote?
Yeah.
How'd that go? What'd you talk about?
It definitely took me out of my comfort zone. They limited me to 15 minutes.
Wow, how do you do that?
I have no idea, but apparently people liked it.
Yeah, and I saw you in a few sessions kind of offering up some questions in a little bit of a heckle fashion, but you meant well.
No. It was not heckling. It was actually discussions we'd have before. If it was perceived as that, it wasn't. I was trying to get some discussion and a little liveliness in the group. One was on wireless sensors and battery life. Big discussion, so a lot of people in there have not applied anything yet.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a question they have. It didn't get really answered. And then the other one was on sensor placement.
Right, I remember that one.
And Yeah, and Mark and Matt gave some good answers.
He's talking about Matt Knuth. That guy's an UpKeep ambassador. And guess what? This guy on screen is also an UpKeep ambassador. And we're not done yet.
Yeah.
So am I. Howard, thank you for this moment at the MotorDoc booth at Reliable Plant 2025. I'll catch up with you later. There's UE Systems. You know that guy right there. He's Alex. Alex, you're on CMMS Radio, brother. How you doing?
Outstanding, man. Good to see you guys.
Yeah. So, what's been going on so far at the show for you? Did you just get in today, or were you already here yesterday?
No, man. I've been in since Monday. We set up. We got to have some really good conversations, talk about some of the new innovation, talk about the on-track, talk about all our handhelds.
Nice.
Also some of our training, stuff like that. But it's been good to see everybody rekindle with all the other conference folks.
Yeah, we talked about that last time down in Houston at Mobius Connect. So it's great to see you again. I always want to get at least a little bit of a clip with you, brother. I really appreciate you, and I hope you have a great day today. And I'll try to swing by again later, get another one. But this will be on CMMS Radio after the show. We'll stitch it in like I did with the last one.
Perfect, man.
Thanks, man. Have a good one. There's UpTime Solutions. Jeremy's back there. Hey, buddy. There's Danielle. Hansford Sensors. How you doing? Doing well. You're on CMMS Radio, if you didn't know.
Nervous now.
No, don't be nervous. I just want to stop by, get a little clip.
Is our light too aggressive?
No, you're good. I love it. I think it looks good. You having a good Reliable Plant 2025?
It's going. We just ordered some food, so I'm excited.
Cool. All right, we'll see you later. Bye.
Look, the system's broken. We got to fix it. First of all, step one, admit you have a problem. That was a big one, by the way. That was a big one. I don't have a problem. My department doesn't have a problem. Your department has a problem. So don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby. Okay? So, that was a big one. But then when we started getting them together, very quickly, let me tell you a story. Very quick story. I was sent to Utah, Alabama. I was sent to Utah. When they told me I was going down to Utah, I'm like, yes, I'm going to Utah. I've never been to Utah. No, Utah, Alabama. If anybody's ever seen the television show, what was it? Come on, with the General Lee. That's where I was. And Boss Hogg was the plant manager. Right? And I went to the first staff meeting Monday morning, and you could tell in the conference room, operations manager and the maintenance manager, you could feel there was tension between them, right? And on Tuesday in the staff meeting, they got into a full-blown argument in the conference. It was very uncomfortable for me because they were screaming at each other. Wednesday, maintenance manager wasn't there. He came in late, opened up the door, burst in, said, I don't have time for this because your GD operators keep busting up the equipment. And he stormed out. So Thursday came around and it played a little nicer, but you could still feel a little bit of tension, right? So after that meeting, I went into Boss Hogg's office and I said, look, what's up with those two? There's a serious personality conflict. He's like, yeah, I know. He goes, it's so bad they actually have to leave the plant at separate times, right? Because they'll kill each other in the parking lot. And I'm like, that's not healthy, all right? And I'm sitting there going, you know, it'd be funny. Switch them. Maintenance operator, you're the new operations manager, you're the new maintenance manager. And he's laughing, he's like, yeah, that'd be pretty funny. What do you think he announced Friday morning? It worked. Organizational change. I'm sitting there going, I did right? So I went away, I did my report writing, I went back there 2 weeks later to do my little dog and pony show for them, the results of the assessment and things like that, right? And first thing in the morning, I went into his office. I said, so what happened? He's like, they're tight. He goes, they're like 2 peas in a pod, okay? He said, all it took was for the one person to walk in the other person's shoes to understand what the reality was. So now I'm sitting back going, oh God, I'm freaking brilliant, man. And so make that check payable. other departments or the other individuals going through. I hope that answered your question.
This guy.
This episode is sponsored by UpKeep, purpose-built for maintenance, reliability, and operations teams. Our mobile-first CMMS and asset operations management solution puts work orders, inventory, and asset info in the palm of your hand. Designed for ease of use and adoption, UpKeep aligns your team for peak business performance. Transform your operations, transform your success with the multi-platform solution of UpKeep. Visit upkeep.com/CMMSradio to receive a dedicated custom discovery session.
Been there at 4 o'clock in the morning and pulled a 24-hour shift and pulled the gearboxes apart and led the team and done the work, right? So when I approach being a maintenance manager, which I've been, or director of maintenance and reliability, which I've been, I always start with building the trust and the relationship with the people doing the work. So I will go out there and I will work with the team. I'm not going to do it all the time, right? Because it's not my core function as a leader, right? But I am going to go and show them that I'm there to enable them. I'm there to remove barriers for them. I'm there to show them that I will do the work, and I'm competent enough to know how to support them in their expertise and what they're doing for the work. So I always start with building trust and relationships. And I will say this, if you are a maintenance manager and you manage from your desk, you're jacked up. That's not how this works. Maintenance leadership needs to go out. They need to be in the field, even if you don't know. You not knowing what your team is doing and how to do it is an exceptional opportunity for you to have humility and to build a trusting relationship with the team that you rely on, because they're going to hear you say, I don't know, Technician A, please show me. You are building a trusted relationship, and you have to be an active leader. And that is core functionality across the board, insert whatever. You have to be active, you have to be in the field, you have to be doing the work, learning, building the relationships at any level of the organization. That's where I start always. I don't talk about software, I don't talk about X initiative, I don't talk about corporate, I don't talk about any of those things. I learn my people and I do the work, connect them to the work and why it's valuable that they are doing the work, to the bigger picture, and we move from there. And then as that trust and those relationships are built and you're showing their value to them and why they matter within the business, then when you start to employ technology, strategies, and things that may be slightly disruptive, they are more likely to engage and be a part of those changes because they know that they trust you and they're a part of that change.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.